Welcome back to the Greenville Chamber's Growing a Greater Greenville podcast. We're excited to share with you our Greater Together series on the partnerships that shape Greenville. I'm your host, Carlos Phillips, and today we're sitting down with my friend Heath Dillard, President and CEO of Visit Greenville SC. Before we start, I want to take a minute to thank the sponsors of today's episode, Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina, First National Bank, and Acumen IT. Thank you to these sponsors. All right, Heath, welcome to the show.
Hey, Carlos. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
You ready to jump in?
Ready. Let's do it.
All right, good deal. Can you start by giving us an overview of Visit Greenville SC and its mission within our community?
Yeah, we are both the city of Greenville and Greenville County's official destination marketing organization. And that term probably doesn't mean a lot to most of your listeners, but hopefully our mission will. Our mission is to maximize Greenville's visitor economy. We do that by both developing and providing exceptional visitor experiences. And lastly, that we don't simply do that in order to grow tourism for the sake of tourism, but that we lean into tourism in an effort to leverage its positive impacts and to create a better quality of life and generate prosperity for our community. So that's a little bit of what we do and how we do it. But I think what's different for Visit Greenville today compared to most of our 40-year history is that we're really leaning into that community alignment piece, is that we want to benefit from all the wonderful things that tourism provides. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But we also want to do that with an eye towards how we can further help our community prosper and continue to generate a wonderful quality of life for the residents who live here.
Thank you for that overview, Heath. Now, most folks, their recollection of Visit Greenville SC is, I call it like our Vegas tagline.
Yeah.
And for Greenville, it was, yeah, that Greenville.
Right.
I don't know if folks have heard that much recently. Where is that? Where is yeah, that Greenville?
Yeah, that Greenville is still being occupied with social handles. There's a lot of local and community pride around yeah, that Greenville. I think there were some yeah, that coffee shops and a lot of other local small businesses that popped up. And I think that is a source of pride around people who love their community. What I'll say about that tagline's evolution or that brand at one point's evolution was 10 or 12 years ago when our organization was charged with kind of understanding what was the brand and what was the essence of Greenville. We found that when you said Greenville, there was a lot of confusion around which Greenville you were talking about. And there's 30 plus Greenvilles around the country. And most likely when we were advertising and communicating potential and prospective visitors, they were just as likely to know about the Greenville in their own home state, whether you were talking about Greenville, Tennessee, or Greenville, North Carolina, or Greenville, Alabama, or any of the others that exist throughout the country.
I think there are 44 Greenvilles throughout the U.S.
Yeah, you were much more likely to live within a couple hours drive of that one than were ours. And really 12 years ago, the conversation was around which Greenville. And we've grown so much, and we've had so much development, and we've had so many wonderful amenities added onto the thing that's always really made this place special, which is its people, that's not really the conversation that we've been having anymore. It's not, when we talk about Greenville, we've not been having the conversation around which Greenville, but the conversation started to transition from which Greenville to why Greenville. And we found ourselves competing with places like Charlotte and Atlanta, Charleston and Savannah, Columbia, Asheville, and other sort of great Southeast regional tourism destinations. And so we needed to evolve the brand. What I say is that the brand worked. It took us from that stage of life where it was, where are you and why, where are you and which one are you to why. And so now we're having to tell a different story maybe than we were 10 or 12 years ago. And we don't necessarily find ourselves needing to describe which Greenville we are, but why Greenville is special and worthy of your time and trip compared to many of these other wonderful places that are fun to visit as well.
Well, thanks for sharing that overview and update um, on uh, on the previous brand, and appreciate your efforts to evolve that to today's time. So Heath, you and I are both we both serve on each other's boards, which really underscores a strong collaboration between the chamber and Visit Greenville SC. Can you share more about our partnership and how it benefits the community?
Yeah, I really do admire the chamber's mission. Particularly the vision around creating a globally competitive upstate economy where people prosper and businesses succeed. I mentioned our mission at the beginning, which I think is slightly different than the mission of our 40-year history, which really leaned into the grow tourism for the sake of tourism piece, where now we really want to extract the positive things for tourism as it benefits our local community. And I think that's really where the alignment of our two organizations exists. You know, a lot of folks look at tourism in this silo, and it really is a major part of the economy. In our region, there's 54,000 people who work in hospitality and leisure. It's a little bit seasonal. I think that number might even be up to over 56,000 today. But if it's the fourth largest employment sector in all of the Greenville MSA. So it's a major, major employer. It also consists of hundreds and even thousands of small locally owned businesses. And so what visitors do, in my mind, the way I describe it as succinctly as I possibly can, is if we somehow built a wall around Greenville County and we had to rely solely on the wages and income of our local residents, there's maybe a hotel or two that could sustain. Certainly some restaurants, certainly some of our entertainment venues, but not nearly the plethora that we have to enjoy today as local residents that exist because of visitors. And so Greenville today, welcomes somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 million visitors annually. Those visitors spend somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.8 billion. And that influx of incremental demand sustains hundreds and hundreds of small businesses. It creates taxes that our communities reinvest into things like our trails and parks and greenway systems. It helps pay for debt service on the Bon Secours Wellness Arena. It really does create a quality of life that all of our residents get to enjoy. And so from a financial and economic impact, from a jobs impact, from the ability to create and sustain businesses, I think we're certainly a part of a much broader, more complex industry, and our organization today sees itself as a leader in that. And I think our two organizations are really well aligned to leverage one another so that both can be successful.
And Heath, what you just stated really reinforces um, tourism as an economy for our community. And what elements of tourism are fueling that for us here? I know we're a foodie town.
We are. Yeah, we love our food, and we punch above our weight class in a lot of different areas. We have as high quality of food as I think you'll find in any Southeast destination. Beth Paul with Bon Secours Wellness Arena shared some statistics recently that show we're the 13th largest grossing arena in the entire United States, and I think 25th in the world or something like that. That's incredible. We've been able to show through ticket sales of concerts and other kind of live entertainment or performing arts kind of events that we buy tickets, we show up, right? We're an economy, and we're a community that can show up and do those kind of things. And what I love about this, maybe the most difficult part of our job is, you have some places around the country that have that one thing. They have the mountains, they have the beach, they have the gambling, they have bourbon. I'll lean on your Kentucky roots, right? And you're selling that one thing, and people have asked, like, we need our one thing. And I would argue and disagree with that and say, no, we're much better balanced, that we have lots of really wonderful things. We punch above our weight class in food. We punch above our weight class in art and culture. We have really high level, incredible sports and other live entertainment that comes to our to our community. And we have incredible outdoor recreation between our parks, local city, county, state parks. We have national parks. I think we're the only community in the entire state of South Carolina that within a 55-mile drive, you can be within 10 state parks. That's an asset that most people would dream of having in a strong urban core with the rural sort of outdoor amenities that you can easily connect to. There's a lot that drives it. I've had a lot of people move here recently. And so there's always this sort of chain visitation that happens with that, visiting friends and relatives. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the strong business climate. That's another area where our two organizations align. As we can become a more and more attractive place to attract talent outside the tourism space, more businesses move here. As more businesses move here, their suppliers, their clients, their employees travel. And so it's this circular sort of reciprocal relationship that happens within the tourism industry as a sector of a broader, much more complex economy.
Excellent points there, Heath. Um, I was on that note. Today, I reviewed the Peace Center's annual report
Yeah,
and looked at their previous year's activity and their cumulative activity and impact on our community, which is phenomenal. The shows that they're able to attract. I got excited because I saw that early next year, the Alvin Ailey Dance Theater is coming to Greenville, South Carolina, and I said to myself, who would have thunk that?
right. I mean, it's another example of, not only was it a development that spurred sort of the revitalization of downtown, but it's another incredible set of venues that allow us to attract A-list type of acts and artists within their, within their craft that a community of our size and plenty of other places around the country simply don't have the track record of supporting. And so our ticket sales track records speak for themselves. We have wonderful venues. We have a community that's willing to support it. And then when we're able to bring them here, we can supplement that local resident demand with visitors who can get here from lots of different metros that are within a couple of hour drive. And I think that's a really powerful recipe for sustained success going forward. I think we're in a great place.
I agree.
Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina is a longtime partner of the Greenville Chamber and offers a wide range of health plans and options designed just for Chamber members. Companies with 51 or more employees have access to Chamber Blue, Blue Cross's exclusive portfolio of more than 40 unique health plans, with enhanced office visit copays, access to innovative apps, and more. Blue Cross is the only South Carolina health insurance carrier serving its citizens for more than 75 years. For information about our health plans for Chamber members, call the Greenville Chamber at 864-239-3723.
Let's switch gears for a minute and talk a little bit about some of the recent successes for Visit Greenville SC, such as the introduction of Breeze Airways, which really is part of a bigger picture of expanding our direct air service here from the Greenville Spartanburg from GSP Airport. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we were able to convene regional municipalities, counties, and cities across Spartanburg, Greenville, and Anderson County, economic development organizations within those, such as yourself and others who come together and saw an opportunity for regional collaboration. Air service benefits all of us. It benefits the businesses that exist here. It benefits the residents that exist here. We have historically been hamstrung a little bit with with the world's largest airport 2 hours or so south of us in Atlanta, the world's sixth busiest airport with an American Airlines hub in Charlotte, an hour and a half to the north of us. And so attracting air service would seem difficult given the barbells on either side of us. But it's important to have direct air service. It's important for businesses who want to connect with clients and suppliers. It's important for continuing to grow our leisure tourism footprint. It's important for us to be able to attract higher quality and caliber conventions and conferences. And so that was a huge win, being able to announce Breeze Airways, our first ever direct nonstop to LAX to the West Coast. We have some nonstop to Denver, but to be able to go all the way to the West Coast with LAX is a huge win. Depending on when this is aired, towards the end of July, we're able to announce Greenville's largest ever event. We were able, who knew bowling could be so big? I was fortunate enough to work in Charlotte when we hosted the 2019 NBA All-Star Game, and it was estimated to be valued around somewhere in the neighborhood of $90 million in economic impact. Greenville's going to host the Olympics of bowling, essentially, in 2028. That's the equivalent of $70 million in economic impact. It'll be the largest event that we've ever hosted as a community, one of the largest in the state's history. And it's really exciting. We were able to do it in a way where we just did not displace any other business at the Greenville Convention Center. We were able to occupy a little corner in there and host a world-class bowling tournament that'll take place over the course of almost 6 months and create lots of jobs for our community. It'll create massive amounts of visitor spending. And then my favorite part of it is when all is said and done, we're going to donate enough lumber and electrical wiring to build three-bedroom habitat houses. And that's where I think our organization is more focused today on how do we connect these visitor and visitor economy related aspects and find those community give back and community alignment aspects. So lots of big wins recently. We continue to have record years. We're 30-40% higher than ever before COVID. 2022, 2023 record years. 24 is on pace to be a record year, both for the tourism industry and for Visit Greenville. We're seeing incredible response. You talked about the rebranding and the brand evolution earlier. The response both to the qualitative advertising testing that we do, as well as the quantitative stuff that we see on the back end with our website visits and hotel bookings, is stronger than it's ever been by a really, really large margin. And our sales team's clicking on all cylinders. We're able to attract more interest in Greenville as a business and conference convention destination than we've ever seen. And I think we're just getting started. So it's been really exciting to see that transformation in my short 18 months, where I see ourselves as building on the shoulders of all the success that we've already had. But we're finally at full staff. We've got an incredible team and a team who loves this community and loves serving it, and is passionate and continuing to push the envelope and innovate and evolve in an effort to continue to get better and produce better results for this community.
Indeed, Heath. And by the way, congrats on the bowling. That was an awesome, significant achievement from your team. And I gotta say, just a selfish plug. I like the look of those bowling shirts.
Who knew? Who knew the fashion of 2024 would be bowling shirts?
Yeah, and I wore a double X. Just
noted. Let me write that down. You got it.
All right. Good deal. So tourism is a major driver for Greenville's economy. What strategies are you implementing to attract more visitors and enhance their experience here in our city?
Yeah, when I came on board, one of the very first things that I wanted to do was invest in the data and information and research within our team, so that we could be more evidence-based and data-driven organization. And I'll even start by sort of challenging the concept of more, because there are certain times a year where more visitors really aren't our strategy. We have certain time periods. There's a little over 10,000 hotel rooms that exist in our community on any given night. And there's certain times a year. You can think of the spring and fall when the weather is sort of at its perfect sort of opportunity, where we literally can't sell any more hotel rooms. And so more during those stretches of time is not the right strategy. Our strategy is really, how do we yield those hotel rooms? How do we go from an average of 2-night stay to 3-night or 4-night stay? How do we get the most out of those hotel rooms without necessarily adding more people? And so we're trying to be more strategic in how we attract all of our audiences. How do we attract the kind of leisure audiences that might fill in some of that seasonality? We're blessed to not have the same seasonality as some of our beach or other destinations in the Southeast, but certainly January and February are softer than April and May or September and October. And so we might not ever get those to equal, but how do we soften our seasons a little bit? And then how do we take the peaks and how do we make them stronger? How do we go after the kind of group rooms that fit our market more proactively? We've seen an opportunity to work with our economic development entities over the last year, and maybe define success a little bit differently than our organization has historically. We've typically counted the number of people and how many hotel rooms they occupy. But there's an opportunity for us to showcase Greenville sometimes to first-time attendees to these conferences, and that the definition of success might be a little bit different. And so we were proud to sponsor SC Bio this past February. We hosted a conference called the Industrial Asset Management Council, which was a couple hundred attendees, but many of them had never traveled here. And so a lot of the commercial real estate and sponsors and of that kind of industry sector came here. And it really allowed us to showcase Greenville up close and personal to people who had never been here, people who might have heard our messaging, from the various entities that are charged with economic development, but it allowed us to showcase, put our best foot forward, if you will, in person for the first time. And so we're working on lots of that. We're working to continue to extend and improve our partnerships with our major festivals like Artisphere and Fall for Greenville and Euphoria, the city's new jazz festival. We're really looking for how do we take these sort of tentpole moments and really leverage them to do more, and how do we find new audiences that might fill in some of the seasons and allow us to flatten that seasonality a little bit. So far so good. We're in the pretty early stages of that, and then finally, I would just say, overlaying all of that, we continue to have a strategic event, where we're looking to expand our current contract with the SEC women's basketball. We're going to host the NCAA men's regionals in 2026, but we're bidding on men and women's for 27 and 28. We've attracted the Bassmaster Classic here 4 times. We want to make it a 5th. Events like the bowling, those are things that don't sustain the visitor economy on an annual basis, but they really allow us to give it a shot in the arm in a short-term time period, particularly when we're talking about events that occur in February.
Good. So, as we talk about community engagement, we know that support is crucial for the success of tourism initiatives. I want to personally thank you for supporting Habitat for Humanity. I suddenly have heightened interest in that
I can
in that
imagine.
organization. But thank you for supporting them. But what are some other ways that you and the Visit Greenville team engage in the community?
Yeah, well, like you, we're a member-based organization. We have more than 400 more hospitality focused type of businesses that make up our membership. And the way I talk about it a little bit is our job is to grow the pie. We want to take market share from Charleston or Asheville or Charlotte or Atlanta, and then we're the conduit of that new visitor demand to those hundreds of small businesses that exist in the hospitality and tourism space. So we're constantly convening them, much like you do with the broader business industry here in Greenville. We're constantly offering educational opportunities. For instance, next week, we're hosting a webinar to try to get our arms around the new federal exempt issues, right? So how do hospitality-related businesses wrap their arm around the increased wage threshold? And so when you're thinking about part-time staff or even full-time staff that might be hourly, and you've got this increased wage over July of this year and January of next year, how do our businesses really understand what that means to them from an operating standpoint? And then beyond that, I think our organization sees itself much more community-minded and have the resources to do things like the Habitat. We have a well-defined corporate social responsibility. We have pillars that really align back to our organization and our mission. And so when I ask our team, I was like, hey, there's a lot of good causes that we can support, but what are those causes that really align back to the needs of our workforce and the needs of our businesses? And so we think about things like affordable housing, transportation and infrastructure, workforce development. How do we create a welcoming and place of belonging, not only for our local residents, but for the people who come here. And then whether you call it sustainability or stewardship, I think the essence of Greenville is so wrapped up in outside scenic beauty and outdoor active lifestyle that we want to partner with organizations that are doing really incredible work. When I see articles like the Natureland Trust land that was agreed to this past week, that makes me smile because it means hundreds of acres that visitors and locals will get to enjoy at some point as part of some kind of park system. And it's so important to what defines Greenville, this really special place. And so we really want to align ourselves. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Sandwich Day. And so that's been something that we've done over the last 2 years, and we'll continue it again on November 7th of 2024. So we take advantage of the National Sandwich Day, which I know everyone celebrates, but we do it in an effort to raise awareness for those who are in need of food. And we partner with Feed and Seed here in town. Obviously, being the home of Duke's Mayo and all the history that exists in our region, we make pimento cheese. And over the last couple of years, we've made nearly 20,000 pimento cheese sandwiches that are then used by organizations like Meals on Wheels and others throughout the following week to distribute to families who are maybe in food crisis. And so there's ways that we've started to work to give back. And then lastly, what I would say is it's not always so much a donation or an investment of time from our organization, but what we're seeing is a growing trend on the conference and convention circuit that when a group of people come into a new town or a new city, they're looking for a way to give a legacy give back. How do they contribute to the local community that they're visiting? And so we want to identify, those dozen or more organizations that really align with our mission and our members' businesses and the workforce of our industry. And we want to dedicate those funding and those resources back to those organizations. We want to leverage this trend and maximize those dollars that are given to our community on those conventions' behalf back to those organizations. So that's a really exciting opportunity that's still relatively new to our industry, but one that I think cumulatively can have a big impact here locally.
Sounds great.
Let's turn a trip to the branch into a tap on your phone. Let's hit pause on a lost debit card without hitting pause on life. That's how First National Bank is redefining convenience. With a top-rated mobile app that puts more security and control at your fingertips and friendly people to help you succeed right by your side. Let's get started at fnb-online.com or your local First National Bank branch. FNB, member FDIC.
So I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking about how you're leveraging innovation to increase tourism. We hear a lot about AI, but how is Visit Greenville SC leveraging technology and new ideas to stay ahead?
Yeah, I don't know that I've been to a conference in the last year and a half where AI hasn't taken up at least one general session or breakout or more. It is sort of the singular topic that there's a thread throughout. And so we think of AI a couple different ways. We think about its use within our own organization. Are we educating and preparing our staff to use various AI tools that might make them more efficient? Are we using it administratively to make our workflows easier or some of our processes more efficient? There's a growing opportunity to use it in the marketing space. And so we are part of maybe 10 to 15 tourism organizations around the country that are taking part of this pilot program through our advertising agency Miles partnership to really understand not only the potential use cases of AI, but the ethics and the copyright laws and all the negative implications that you can imagine that are on the downside of it. So we're still in heavy education mode. There's certainly adoption of those tools within our own organization. But what I would say about tourism and organizations like ours more specifically is, because we've been finding ways for years and years to get creative and to make the most out of limited resources, funding specifically, is that we've always been in this mode of constant or continuous improvement. How do we make our dollars go further? And so the advent of digital media, which is now not new, allowed us to go into markets like New York, Philadelphia, DC, Baltimore, Boston, LA. Now that we've got flight market access to LA, there's no way on earth our organization could have afforded to buy advertising in any of those major metros historically through traditional media means. But various digital technologies and digital advertising technologies allow us to really understand who our likely consumer is and target them with a really efficient use of our advertising dollars. And so I would say that AI is just sort of the new thing, that we're constantly evolving what the new technology is. How do we make the most of the money that we're given? How do we find the audiences that are most likely to travel to Greenville and influence them and get them over the hump to say yes and to book that trip? So we're looking at how is AI used on the other end. I think it's, for travel search and booking, AI has been a little slower to adopt, but my sense is in the next 5 years, you will be just as comfortable with an AI-driven itinerary for whatever trip you're about to take as you would historically picking up the phone and calling the local Visit Greenville version of wherever you're going, or to stop into a visitor info center or to pick up a magazine that you'll allow AI to help plan that event for you. And so we're preparing for what that looks like as well, so that when the consumers begin to use that technology, that Greenville's there and it's positioned in a way that we can put forth our local businesses, and that they can be highlighted in that potential itinerary.
Good. Well, great to know that you are ahead of the curve on leveraging that technology. So that is good to know. So Heath, we're going to wrap up today's conversation with a question that we like to ask folks and who appear on the podcast, and that is, what advice do you have for other organizations seeking to create their own partnerships?
Yeah, I think it's easy to operate in a silo. We're all busy. We all have full agendas and calendars, and it's really easy to be myopic and keep our head down and think about what's best for our organization. So what I encourage is to think about those potential partnerships and find those areas of alignment, right? If we think back to the, business school concentric circles, what are those areas in the middle that, if done really well, benefit everybody? And if you do nothing else, at least lean into those areas. And so I use the air service example as that is when I first got into town. I met with Mark Ferris and you and the city's economic development team at the time, and I was asking those questions like, "Hey, help me identify where those areas are. There might only be 3 or 4, right? I don't know yet. But whatever they are, I hope you know that I'll be a good partner in those, and that I'll lean hard into those to make sure we do our part so that we all can leverage them and benefit from them." And so I think there's air service development things that exist in every company and every nonprofit and every entity. And I think we have to look for those and work really hard to push those and reach their potential as best we can.
Awesome. Well, Heath, you have entered the market 18 months ago or so, and you really hit the ground running. And we hit it off pretty quickly, and the partnership began. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being so intentional and so willing to partner not only with the chamber, but with other organizations and people throughout our community.
Yeah, Carlos, thank you very much. I love being here. I really can't think of one area of our life professionally or personally with our family that I would do differently, or I could say could have gone better. We are very fortunate to have this community that we get to call home, that we get to promote, both as a place to do business and a place to visit. And I'm excited to continue to grow it in the best way that we can. So thank you for your partnership. Thanks for having me on today as well.
All right. Thank you, Heath, for joining us on the podcast today. And welcome to you. Welcome to Greenville to you and your family. Hope you're enjoying your time here. And I hope the Chamber and other folks throughout the community are being great partners to Visit Greenville SC.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Learn more about the Visit Greenville SC and Greenville Chamber's partnership by following both organizations on social media today. Also, thanks again to our generous podcast sponsors, Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina, First National Bank, and Acumen IT. Thank you to our listeners for joining us today and for helping us in our efforts to grow a greater Greenville.